water challenges now and in the future.
Got it.
So if you have a chance, before we start up just for a few minutes here, if you want to either look over that or do that afterwards, it's fine. But that's just some of the information and handouts that I typically do hard copy wise when I'm doing a presentation. So this will be one of my first presentations via Zoom that I've done on this particular topic. So we are at 9:56. So we'll start up here in 4 minutes if Scott's okay with that.
Well, I'm perfect with it. Some people kind of straggle in at the end here,
Oh, no problem.
and I never know how many's coming. And we got a lot of them here at the national conference, so I don't think they'll necessarily be on.
Okay, not a problem. Sure.
We're here in Kentucky.
Oh, that's right. You said you were going to be out of state.
Yeah, I'm out of state. I'm actually at a hotel, and it's my Wi-Fi is not as strong as it is at home. Not even close.
Okay. Are you having adapting to the time change over there?
Yeah, I don't have any trouble with the time chain. I'll be glad to
Okay.
get back though, so I gain some hours back.
That's right. Sounds like a plan.
Yeah.
Does anybody have any questions real quick for me before I start up? I can try and answer. Of course, I'll do the presentation, and I typically leave a small window of time depending on the how many questions are coming in. I'm glad to answer them best of my ability. Just while we have a few minutes. Okay.
Well, like I said, they're not usually here right on time.
Oh, that's okay. No problem.
John, is the heat that you've been having in the last little bit affecting a lot of your crops?
So currently we're growing our summer crops, and those typically thrive in the summer heat. We're growing. So what happens is once the winter crops are harvested, fields are tilled and laser leveled again, those growers or farmers that wish to grow in the summer season will either grow melons, wheat. So typically it's a summer crop that's grown. And then after that's harvested, then they're basically getting ready to prep the fields again for our next winter season, winter crops.
Well, that's good.
Or it'll stay fallow and they just won't, they'll level it and nothing will grow on there during the summer months. It just all depends on the grower. If he has buyers set up, if he typically participates, in that part of the growing season.
Oh, well, that's good to hear.
But yeah, definitely in our warmer temperatures right now, pretty hot. 100 and I don't know where we're at here. 115 degrees, I think was one of the higher temps we had this week. I remember when I moved here in 1994. It was Friday, June 6th of 1994. How accurate is hard to say, but one of the banks on our main roads here, main thoroughfares, it said 126 degrees. So, it's definitely.
Well, I'm glad that it of good use to those that are farming. That's a positive thing.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. How we looking, Scott?
Oh, I think let's give them 1 more minute. And that's it.
Okay, not a problem.
Like
I'll take
I
it.
said, I never know how many's gonna stop, but I will tell you, John, I have a lot of people that watch them afterwards because I am recording it, and it'll be the links are on the Oregon FCE website, and then it's actually on YouTube. And John, if you could actually send me a front page of your PowerPoint, I could use that when I put it on the YouTube thing, the one that's showing right now.
Sure. So I will definitely do that. I'm trying to recall if I sent some folks actually asked for the presentation itself. And I have emailed that. If I didn't mail that to you, I'll be glad to do that.
Yeah,
and or I could just, send the slide itself.
okay,
you're
well,
welcome.
send me the whole thing if you can, and then I'll share it if anybody wants it.
You're more than welcome to, not a problem, sure. But I'll definitely get that to you, and you can use it as the
Okay,
screensaver, or I guess if you don't need,
well, I use it on the little picture on YouTube.
sure, yeah, no problem. I think the colors,
It's a really good one.
the name of the
Took a
program.
picture with my camera, but it's not quite the same.
Okay, no, that's not a problem. Be glad to help.
All right. Well, I'm ready whenever you guys are.
Everybody all set?
I think so.
Okay, here we go. So good morning. My name is John Metha, and I am an outreach instructional specialist for the University of Arizona Cooperative Extension here in Yuma. Today, I'll be doing a presentation called the Yuma Agriculture Learners for Life. And this will be discussing specialty crops that we grow here in the Yuma area here in Arizona. As I mentioned before, just real quick, there's a 5-question survey that was included in the attachment that Scott sent out when he was making you aware of today's presentation. Also a business-sized card that has a scanned barcode on it, and that'll discuss what's called the Yuma Winter Salad Bowl. And in that video, you will see some of the challenges that our growers will be facing here regarding water availability. And then also the trifold. And so this is just kind of a recap or synopsis of the slideshow presentation that you'll be seeing here today. And we'll go ahead and get started. So today's presentation will be covering 3 components: specialty crops that we grow here in Yuma, food safety, and in regards to that, that is when you're harvesting or picking the crops from the fields, and the health benefits from consuming local produce. So here in Yuma, Arizona, the top 3 industries we have here are 1, agriculture, 2, military, and 3rd is tourism.
And John, we do actually have a woman here at the conference that is from Yuma.
Oh, okay, great.
Margaret, she's not watching today. She's busy in a meeting.
Okay, understand. Not a problem. So Arizona agriculture. So it is an estimated $23.3 billion industry. In Arizona here, we are the 3rd largest producing state for fresh market vegetables. In Arizona, we are the 4th largest in the country for acreage of organic vegetables. The 2nd leading producer of cantaloupes, honeydews, pistachios, and dates for the nation. We have produced 445.7 million pounds of red meat and 4.2 billion pounds of milk. So what makes Yuma such a great place for agriculture? Readily available land, water, and 360 days of sunshine. So what crops do we grow here in Yuma? And I'll point out, here's some of these illustrations. I've taken about 80% of them different times of year. And so when you see some of the images here, they're actually taken right here in Yuma. So Yuma is considered the winter lettuce capital of the United States. Produced 90% of all the leafy greens to the nation from November, early April. Leafy greens are romaine, iceberg, red leaf, green leaf, butter, spring mix, celery, and spinach. There are more than 175, get this out of the way here, different crops grown year-round that include alfalfa, Bermuda grass seed, cotton, dates, lemons, and melons. And so the ones there on the bottom I just mentioned are actually our summer crops that we're growing here now. And so a little bit more here about summer crops. And so desert durum wheat is currently being grown in quite a few of the fields, and it accounts for about 95% of the wheat grown here in the Yuma County, and about 2/3 is exported to Italy for use in making premium pastas. Some growers also grow kosher wheat, and that is to be used by Orthodox Jews to bake matzah. In order for it to be kosher, the wheat is not to receive moisture immediately prior to harvesting. Yuma County ranks #1 in Arizona for lemons, tangelos, tangerines, watermelons, and cantaloupes. So in order to accommodate all of the produce that is being grown here, we have to have infrastructure in place. And Yuma is home to 23 coolers, 9 salad plants, 2 date, and 3 citrus packing sheds. Yuma Farms cultivate enough iceberg lettuce among 40 other crops to be able to distribute annually 1 iceberg head of lettuce to every man, woman, and child in the United States, Mexico, Canada, and the United Kingdom combined. It's about 500 million heads of lettuce produced each year. So during the produce season, it has been said that around every 90 seconds, a semi-truck is leaving Yuma full of produce. So we have quite a bit of traffic increase on our roads during our winter months because of all of the produce that's being exported or taken out of the Yuma area. Food safety for consumers. So this is in regards to when harvesting the produce out of the fields. So what is utilized is called the Arizona Leafy Green Marketing Agreement. That's the Arizona LGMA, and how the program works. So a plan is developed and then implemented. Employees are trained. So that's during orientation. And then there's ongoing continuous education throughout the season or throughout the year. There's audits that are conducted by Arizona Department of Agriculture state employees. And then during the audits, if there is an infraction or an area that needs corrective action is taken if necessary. And then the company becomes certified after that inspection. And so there is a list on this website here for Arizona LGMA that lists the companies that are certified. And unfortunately, if not certified, those are also identified on the list. So food safety, continuing on the LGMA, it consists of growers, shippers, packers, buyers, government entities, and consumers. It is a voluntary program that was created by the industry themselves. Once in the program, it is mandatory to comply with the guidelines. The industry pays for regulation through an assessment that is placed on each carton of leafy greens produced. And as I mentioned before, the Arizona Department of Agriculture auditors conduct the audits. Okay, let me see if I can do this here. On here, perfect. So food safety initiatives, the Arizona Leafy Green Marketing Agreement utilizes audits, training, prevention, personal practices, hygiene, cross-contamination prevention, and a practice when harvesting the produce is food product must not come in contact with the ground after it is harvested or it is not utilized as a food source. So here's some statistics data here from the audits. And so in the year 2020 to 2021, scheduled audits, we had 51, unscheduled audits, 36. So these are unannounced, unplanned. And so for a total, there were 87 audits conducted 2020 to 2021. In 2021 to 2022, scheduled audits were 70, unannounced were 35 for a total of 105. So when an audit is conducted, it is essentially an all-day process. So there's a very, very extensive procedure and check marks that are completed by an auditor. And once it starts, the company needs to be prepared for the long haul, long day, committed to having that done, especially when it's unannounced. So health benefits from consuming local produce. So health benefits from consuming specialty crops regarding lettuce. Bone strength. Lettuce is a great source of vitamin K, which helps to strengthen bones. Hydration. Water makes up over 95% of raw lettuce. Improved vision. Lettuce is a source of vitamin A, which plays a role in eye health. Improved sleep. Extracts of multiple lettuce types have been also shown to promote sleep. Broccoli. Packed with vitamins, minerals, and bioactive compounds. It contains potent antioxidants that offer health protective effects. Bioactive compounds may contribute to reduced inflammation, and it may protect against certain types of cancer. Antioxidants and fiber may aid in blood sugar control. And cauliflower. It is a cruciferous vegetable that is naturally high in fiber and B vitamins. It provides antioxidants, phytonutrients that can protect against cancer. It also contains fiber to enhance weight loss and digestion, and choline that is essential for learning and memory. Medjool dates. By weight, medjool dates contain 50% more potassium than bananas. This essential mineral helps to control heart rate, breathing, and muscular function. Studies have shown that dates may reduce sugar absorption in our bodies. This can help lower blood sugar levels, which can aid in weight management and reduce the risk of diabetes. Always follow a doctor's advice and diet plan. So events from the field. So this one here is pretty interesting. In 2022, there's different shots that are taken here that I like to show, and it demonstrates things that happen at any time throughout the year for folks to kind of be aware of. So on December 1st of 2022, about 45 minutes from here is a town called Welton, just east of us. And so a car was driving down the road, didn't negotiate or navigate the turn effectively, and went off the road. And it's kind of hard to see it, but there you see the pink flags there. That road goes in, I believe, well over 100 feet. And so per the Arizona LGMA, any kind of introduction of a contaminant or breach in the field, there must be a 5-foot separation between that and the food source. So everything that's within the flags cannot be utilized as a food source. That's quite a bit of product that's going to go to waste. This one here demonstrates food safety equipment that's being utilized. You can see the folks that are harvesting the field. They have facial masks, a bit hard to see there, but facial mask, apron, gowns, gloves, sleeves, and boots. And so they're harvesting a field over in the Walton area and putting it on a conveyor, and then that's being loaded up into a large tote, semi-truck, and that's going to be hauled off to the processing plant to be distributed. So this here is a knife washing container. So it has a sanitizing solution in it. You can see the gentleman just dipped his knife, and it's kind of hard to see, but if you can actually use solution. It's just a perfect capture of the image there of the solution dripping off the knife. So flags. In the previous slide, we saw the car that went into the field or the tire tracks. You saw pink flags there that marked 5 foot on each side of the tire impression in the field. This one here is just a close-up of a flag in a field, and just to the right image there, you can see the rest of the field has been harvested, and the flagged off area, it still remains. And so it's indicating there in the flag, do not harvest. And the grower made mention to me, or the foreman made mention to me, they found deer droppings there. And so that is obviously pathogen potential there of a contaminant being introduced. And so they flag off that area and they don't harvest it. So they're always erring in the side of safety and prevention of any kind of contaminant being introduced to the field. And so they just won't utilize that product. So more flags. There is not, to my knowledge and understanding, a significance of the color. So we saw yellow, pink, and now blue. And so not all flags are bad. These particular flags here represent and designate an area of a field where a variety has been introduced. And so what they'll do is they'll try out a different variety of seed, which might be more disease resistant or drought resilient or resistant. And so this is, planting the seed, you can get lost, or where did we plant that in the field? So they just flagged off an area indicating we're going to try these seeds here and see how they work under the same conditions as the remainder of the field. And so not all flags are bad, is what that represents. And so it's just marking off an area in the field where they can keep track of these new variety of seeds and see how they work out. The flag on the right side, it's just a marker showing a rodent trap. And so they're trying to capture any rodents before they're to breach and go into the water source. Again, it's just another way of trying to promote contaminant prevention from being introduced to the water source. So water conservation efforts. So this is a new slide here I've added. And so I get asked quite a bit after presentations, what are growers doing to what are their water conservation efforts? And so some of those are demonstrated here. Drip irrigation is one. It can be costly, but that is absolutely one way of utilizing water in the target area, and to be mindful of the water use and conservation. 2, transplants. So this is taken here in a local nursery. And so you can see the boom with the sprinklers just on top. And so it's going directly on the vegetation for water conservation efforts. Irrigation schedules. So, there are moisture sensors that are utilized. And so we're not just watering, based on time that has passed. Here in this case here, they can actually measure the moisture content of the soil. And so that may prolong and extend a period of time before growers water again. So they utilize water moisture sensors. Retaining the flood irrigation. So farmers here do a really, really good job in laser leveling their fields. And they also have a perimeter mound that retains the water so we don't have runoff where water is just, traveling to an unattended area, which would be categorized as being wasteful. So our farmers do a really, really good job in keeping the water contained on their fields and utilizing it for its designated purpose. And then another area here is drought resiliency. So we're finding that different varieties now that are being utilized from seed are more resilient to drought. So they have a better tolerance to the heat and drier conditions, and are still successfully harvested when the product is mature. So this is just a reminder, an image of that business card that I referenced. So if you do look on the on YouTube and you look up the Yuma Winter Salad Bowl, there's 2 different versions. There's a shorter version, which is just kind of a briefer synopsis, condensed version. And then the longer one, I strongly encourage you to watch the longer version. And when you have a moment and you're just kind of taking a break, it's a very, very informative video. And I think you'll find it interesting, the information that it provides. And then here's a larger or close-up version of that nursery that I was mentioning of transplants. These are pepper plants in particular that are here. And this demonstrates basically a condensed growing from seed to these younglings here, where once they reach a certain point of maturity, then they'll be planted in the field. And so water conservation efforts here. So instead of flood irrigating, which is 325,000 plus gallons in a field per acre foot, we're seeing these crates, seeds grown into smaller seedlings, being prepared after a certain maturity to be planted in the field. So we'll give you a little equation here. A 1/4 acre in a nursery can make 40 plus acres in the field. So that is a major expansion exponentially of when you're growing in a transplant nursery versus when it's being planted in the field. Nozzle delivery is 0.4 gallons per minute, which equates to 600 gallons per pass. So major water savings are being demonstrated there. So this here, sometimes, with folks that I do presentations to here locally will ask, why is there plastic covering over the rows or mounds or furrows? And so this particular illustration here is of a watermelon plant. And so they do start in the cooler months, not very cold, but just in the cooler months. And so what that is basically doing is helping to preserve heat. So the plastic barrier, any kind of warmth will help to preserve that in the furrow as the plant begins to mature and then eventually produces watermelons themselves. So what can we do to help keep produce safe? Pretty easy things here. One of them is to keep dogs on a leash and away from fields. Any kind of farm animals that are neighboring the produce field. Exercise horses and other animals away from fields. Do not enter agriculture fields or walk on canal roads. Sometimes folks find, and I say this with all due respect, will, drive along one of the main thoroughfares and see, produce on the field, that there's so many of them that, oh gosh, they won't miss it if I take one or two, because there's just thousands and thousands of them. So I always give folks a polite reminder that it is in fact private property. And so entering the field would be trespassing. And so we remind folks to please, one, not enter fields, because it is private property, and probably equally, if not more important, that action there can actually be introducing a contaminant onto the field, which is our food source. As well as do not litter. So never dump objects or dispose of unwanted substances in canals or ditches, because that can absolutely be a water source for the produce fields. These practices, reduce the potential to contaminate field and water sources. And that's all I have. The end.
Well, thank you, John. I'm going to turn my video back on there. Why don't you
Sure.
stop your share screen, and
Sure. Let me go back over here.
maybe people can see it if they got any questions.
Sure. Did it kick off there?
Yeah, but now I just see your computer screen.
Okay.
You got to stop share.
That's on the top here. Yeah.
Yeah, it's usually up near the, there you
There
go.
we go. Great.
Now you can see it. So does anyone here have any questions or comments? I see everybody's muted. We have lots of people there. Janice is from Oregon, Ann Egan's from Oregon, Wanda's from Tennessee, Linda Nyseth is from Oregon, and Marlene, I think you're from
Kansas.
What's that?
Kansas.
Kansas. Yeah, that's what I said. You guys got questions?
Well, I'll carry on just a little bit more here. So a part of my responsibilities is to give public presentations, much like this, but mainly in person. And so I speak about both the winter and summer crops that we grow here. As I made mention, Yuma is a produce or salad capital of the United States. We provide a major food source to our country and overseas as well. Another part of my responsibility is to put out signs here that you can see on the screen. It's just a few. And so it's about educating the public. And so what I do is, depending on what is growing in the fields, instead of folks passing by, and I know Scott made mention that he was in Yuma and had a chance to observe and assess or survey the area here, see some of the crops that we grow here. Folks driving by just maybe see a green field, but different shades of green and different size of plants that are in the field. And so a part of that is just to help folks identify the different crops that we're growing, along with the presentations. The whole core meaning of behind the program, the backbone, is to try and prevent, contaminants, reduce the chances of an outbreak by something like an E. coli, a pathogen. And so anything that can be done to reduce or eliminate an outbreak, that's one of the backbone reasons of this program and doing these presentations. But are there any questions I might be able to answer?
I tell you that I thank you. It was very educational, and I learned a lot, and I thank you for that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm glad. I'll be glad to send the PowerPoint to Scott, and please feel free to go over it again and have a look at the different illustrations on there and the data that's available.
Okay, and John, a couple of things you talked about, the safety, which is always a big one. And you mentioned my visit down to Yuma. That's quite an experience just to drive around there. It was actually Margaret Pullen that she lived down there and took us. We spent most of a half a day just driving around the fields, not in the field.
You bet. Yeah. So the city of Yuma is growing. We're seeing a pretty fair amount of growth here. New homes, which weren't present, 10 years ago. There's homes or a shopping center, and so it's pretty interesting because each time there's an expansion and growth, right there. That used to be a food source. There may have been lettuce growing there at one time years ago, or some wheat growing there, or citrus trees. Maybe there's lemons growing there at one point, in this acreage, where there are homes now there. And so it's interesting to find the balance there of what allows for growth to happen and still allow a stable food source. So it's an interesting thing here in Arizona, I would say as a whole. In the Phoenix area, that's the same kind of thing, where they're experiencing that, but I'd say at a much larger scale.
Yeah. So I also enjoyed your little notes there on water conservation. I grew up in the state of Utah, and water conservation is extreme there almost always, and it's somewhat of a climate. It's not quite the same climate as Yuma, Arizona, but very, very short on water, and it varies from year to year. And I've talked to you a little bit about that, but does anybody else?
I don't think that that's going to go away. I believe that the conservation efforts and how water is utilized and what's allotted to individuals, I believe that it'll be a continued responsibility. But there are folks that obviously control that, regulate that. That's a lot further out of my scope. But I just promote, at least, that our farmers here are responsible, and the water that they use is going to provide for a food source, and then how they utilize that and how their fields are prepared. They maintain the water use and the water that is being used on the designated areas. And again, some of those ways that I mentioned, by laser leveling, the mound that's around the fields doesn't allow for runoff. And so, though it comes at a cost, which, farmers, growers need to be mindful of, many are utilizing drip systems nowadays to try and reduce water use on their crops.
Yeah.
Thank you, John, for the lesson. And did you say you can go to Yuma, the Winter Salad Bowl, for a video?
Yes, ma'am. So if you go on YouTube, and if you have a look at the slide, I don't know if it's kind of hard to see in the image here, but if you were to go on YouTube, and then on the search line, if you were to type in Yuma, the Winter Salad Bowl, that video will pop up, and there's two different versions of it. We call it the shorter version, which is 7-8 minutes long, and then the longer version, which is about 23-24 minutes long. And you should be able to find that.
And
I
Linda,
strongly encourage you to watch the video. If you remember the slide that I had up on the screen where it shows the transplants, and you see the boom that's overhead, that's watering the small pepper transplants that are in those black crates. I actually traveled to that field and had an opportunity to tour the facility, and it's very impressive. I personally believe that is an excellent way of conserving water, and in a controlled, semi-controlled environment. And the success rate that comes out of there and then transplanted to the field, I believe, increases what's going to be able to be harvested at the end for a finished product. But if you have a look at that video, it definitely demonstrates and provides a lot of good information regarding the importance of water here in the Yuma area.
Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to ask a question.
Sure.
The state of Oregon is all plotted out for land use,
Yes, ma'am.
and it's very, very strict. How is the land use laws in Arizona?
Well, I would not be able
So
to
people
speak very
can't just
educated.
come in and build stuff.
Right. Yeah, I wouldn't be able to speak very, very educated on that. However, I can tell you that there are land use designated areas, for whether it's zoning or what it has already been designated to be used for. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that in order for one to convert agriculture land into, let's say, a residential or commercial type land use, that would go through the city and county. And then after different applications and approvals, then eventually, if approved, one would be able to develop that area based on the county and city's approval.
Okay. You see at the end of a presentation, you bring out something for us to eat and to show off.
Right.
what you wrote there.
Well, I'll tell you, I've got some coffee here. I just don't know that I can, port it over there to you folks. Yeah, I wish that. That's a great point. A little different,
some nice
doing
melon.
the electronic version of that, but I'm so glad. I definitely appreciate the opportunity to be able to do this. And I did offer to Scott, folks have busy lives, right? And even when I do a in-person presentation, sometimes folks have appointments, right? They were already had plans in place. They're not able to attend the presentation. So I feel very fortunate, blessed that, when I go to a facility or a location and I say, hey, if somebody missed, or would you like me to come back? So far, I've been very, very welcomed to do a presentation again, because some folks just are busy. And so I same can apply here. Even though Scott may post this on the website or on YouTube or somebody can watch it, I'm glad to do the presentation again. Sometimes there's a little different experience that one receives when there's a live version, even though it's electronic here versus in person. And of course, the question and answer opportunity wouldn't be present. And so maybe somebody that didn't attend, they might have a question for me. I certainly would answer to the best of my ability.
Well, thank you, John, and I appreciate that. And if you ever come up with a new presentation of some kind, I'd be glad to work with you on it.
Sure. Well,
Yeah,
I think it certainly can evolve. One cannot predict the future, right? But I certainly feel the water conservation component of this, which has just been added, and that's again based on people asking me questions or having an interest in more information after I provide a presentation. I just felt very inclined to start providing, information regarding that. And I do believe that that component of it will actually expand and grow, as I mentioned before. And I certainly would love to, I think we would all love to know that our water situation will better its current conditions, that I don't see it necessarily going away.
no.
So if that topic continues to be of interest, and this particular situation that we're in these last few years continues regarding our water, then I'll be glad to expand that and have that information more in depth as I find it, available to me.
Okay, if there's no other questions, I don't have it planned out for September or October yet. I do have one for November and one for January of next year. But I'm always looking for one. So John, if you know anybody down there that would like to do one, they know where to contact me. You can send them my way.
Absolutely. I can definitely chat with folks here at the office. And if there's folks on a different topic, I will absolutely have them correspond with you and get in touch.
All right. Well, thank you again. And we will see all you guys. Thank you very much for attending. We'll let you go.
All right. Thank you very much, everybody. Wish you a good week. Take care.
Thank
Bye-bye
you.
for now.
Have a blessed day.
Take care. Same to you.
Good conference, Scott.
What's that?
I said, have a good conference.
We will. We're not quite there. We start tomorrow. I wished you were here.
Well,
Blessed conference.
I have to get over some falls and stuff before I can travel that far. So I'll miss it, but you have a good one.
All right. Thank you guys for being there. I'll get this recorded.
All right. Thanks.
Bye now.
Bye.
Bye.